Star Trek fans are known as Trekkies, Doctor Who fans are known as Whovians, and Firefly fans are known as Browncoats. Yet when it comes to perhaps the biggest media franchise, Star Wars, their fanbase seemingly lacks any kind of name. How can a fanbase that prides itself on having everything from movies to TV series to video games to action figures to lunchboxes to literal fruit to Lego to Pez dispensers to what even is this to plastic collectibles to clothing to books to comics to Mr. Potato Heads, not have a name for themselves? Well, in fact, perhaps they do have a name. Names I could find thrown around on the internet were things like Star Warriors, Warzians, and even on Wikipedia's list of fandom names, it is listed as Warzies. So I guess the answer is they do? But come on, I've never seen anyone calling themselves a Warzie with pride. So even though there are names for Star Wars fans, none of them seem to be very concrete and known to the wider audience. You may even be a Star Wars fan yourself and not know you were called a Warzie. So perhaps we could create a true definitive name for Star Wars fans. Creating these kinds of names isn't as hard as it might seem. There are certain conventions that we use to create names. So let's look at some of these conventions and how they could be applied to the Star Wars fanbase. One way we create these names is by adding already established suffixes to the end of the media's name. This can sometimes involve shortening the media's name too. In linguistic terms, this is known as derivation. We can see this with the aforementioned Whovian name for Doctor Who fans, in which just the Who part of the name has been taken with the Vian suffix added. What's interesting about this suffix is it's one usually used with nationalities, such as Italian and Canadian. This gives the Whovian fanbase a more national collective feel. I know I'd be happy to be a part of that nation. This addition of a suffix is what we see with Trekkies too, and it seems to be a popular style that has been attempted to be used with Star Wars names already, with the aforementioned Warzies and Warzians. But perhaps we could also use this convention in other ways, like use a different suffix, Waraholics, or keep the E's suffix found in Warzies but apply it to the Star part of Star Wars, Staries. Another way fanbase names are created is by adding a whole extra word to the end of the franchise's name. In linguistic terms, this is called compounding, and can be seen with the name for the Harry Potter fanbase, Potterheads. And conversely, if you love Harry Potter, you're probably a bit of a bookworm, which is another compounded name for a fanbase. The head suffix is quite common in referring to fanatics of something, such as car lovers being called motorheads. However, warheads doesn't have the best connotations. As I said earlier, Firefly fans are called browncoats. In the universe of Firefly, browncoats were soldiers who fought for the independent planets, named after the brown leather trench coats of their uniforms. I'm literally reading this off the Firefly wiki, as I've never watched Firefly in my life. This shows us that a fanbase of a media franchise can be named after a part of the actual franchise. In Star Wars terms, this means its fanbase could be called anything from Jedis to Stormtroopers to Wookiees. Or you know, it could be none of these. Perhaps the best name for Star Wars fans is just that, Star Wars fans. Let's go back to Trekkies. As time has gone on, the name Trekkie has become something of a bad thing. So much so that groups of Star Trek fans are abandoning Trekkie in favour of Trekkers, as Trekkie has become somewhat associated as a derogative name for the fans who have seemingly lost touch with reality and believe that they are part of the Star Trek universe themselves. Of course, opinions vary, so if you associate as a Trekkie and don't find it offensive, that's cool. Star Wars fans could be completely put off by this. While they love Star Wars, they might not want to be associated with all of the usual fanatic craziness that has become linked with strong fandoms in recent years. Maybe that's why Star Wars fans don't have a name.